LinkedIn Echo Chamber. This is ML's Like Teen Spirit. Today I've got Lisa with me. Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm very well for a Monday.
Excellent. And Lisa, I'm running a world map of guest locations. Where are you, please?
Oh, do I admit where I actually am, or what my
Just make
address
it up.
is
Make it up.
Croydon?
I've got somewhere exotic, and I'll put a pin in my map.
Oh no, it's not exotic. It's Croydon, so South London.
No comment. Okay,
Yeah,
moving along,
moving
Lisa.
on.
You're here. You're here because you have a background in sustainability, which is a passion area of mine, and I've yet to have someone come on and sort of speak to me. Someone working in this space speak to me. So I would love for you to introduce yourself first, please, for 60 seconds. I know you've had 42 prior roles, so make it snappy, and then we'll start to zoom in on what you're doing at Concept Zero. So an intro first, please.
So after 20 plus, and I still don't like the plus part of that conversation, years of working in data, not as a scientist, but as a business user, always very important to be clear. I went and started or did my executive MBA, where I had sustainability as part of my core modules. Yay for sustainability school. I did a paper and I found out that data, which I thought would be the solution to everything, actually had a carbon footprint that was bigger than aviation, and that was back in 2019. Data doubles every 18 months. Aviation doesn't. And aviation doesn't have 60 to 80% of its seats empty, whereas in data world, we accept that that's how much data we never use, never analyse, but it still has a carbon footprint. That was an epiphany moment to me, which led me to look and read and change how I wanted to approach consulting from a data strategy, revenue only type focus business to a business that was more about, we've got millions of concepts that are floating around, thesis, hypothesis, opinions, ideas. Yes, I'm looking at it from a more sustainability space. And zero, that A in data, zero in ones, especially for data scientists, as a key figure. But for me, in a business term, we're always trying to measure to or from. So 0, 1, just zero. Concept Zero became the natural name of, let's take the concepts and the fact that we need to measure to or from zero. So that is my potted journey from 20 plus years ago to now.
Wow. So you're the CEO at Concept Zero. You're marrying up your background in consulting with you were triggered by the aviation. You started doing this. So Lisa, when we first met, what I was most interested to hear is you were high off the back of coming out of Big Data London.
Yes.
You were telling me about what happened there. So for folks watching, there's a big expo in London where lots of vendors and geeks are going every year. But could you tell us about that experience of, like, from the high, work backwards the 5 years to what it was really like?
Yeah, I've always loved Big Data London. Big Data London to me it's the opportunity that all the data geeks converge in one place, which I wonder how sorry I feel for the people that surround Olympia at that time. So I've always loved it. But in 2019, I went with a very different perspective of what data was about, going from, it's omnipresent and invisible, to thinking it still is that, but has a negative impact. And I think, frankly, I was treated as the crazy lady that care in the community had failed and had been let out on the streets. Because nobody or very, very few people wanted to engage in the conversation and was very like, oh God, tree hugger, go over there. Nothing wrong with hugging a tree. But when you're in a Big Data London, as the name suggests, it's all very business and ROI and value and all of those kind of metrics. And nobody had time for the sustainability agenda. But I chose not to really care about these naysayers, and I put them in the laggard pot and went, you'll work it out. I'm not going to give up on this, because this is incredibly important to everybody I love and care for, all of the animals on the planet, everything. This is what my purpose is to go, we can do something about it. So was not disheartened by Big Data London, turn up every year, apart from when it was COVID, say my little bit, keep nudging, keep pushing. And this year was like as if it was a complete turnaround, and crazy lady status isn't completely brushed off, but there was far more people leaning into the conversation. There was far more people that were looking at it and going, sustainability, climate change, whichever acronym, or not acronym, but whatever word that people want to holistically group this together, is real, and it's impacting businesses all over. Whether businesses are listening to that or are planning for it, we all know businesses aren't great at making plans, even when they can see things on the horizon. But the complete change was palatable and was there, and people were talking about it. And I was, a little ego trip. But
yeah, Lisa,
yeah, totally.
Let's switch gears on it then. So you're at the intersection of sustainability and data as a consultant, helping brands figure out what to do. Let's switch the perspective. So from the company's standpoint, what are the kinds of things that someone is trying to figure out what this means for them? What are the types of things that they are sort of facing or tasked with that could use your help?
What we have is organisations going into a fear moment and cutting costs and looking for efficiency, but don't want to do sustainability. Sustainability is all about minimising waste, using energy more efficiently, using resources better, giving resources a longer life within the organisation. So this is not an add-on, it's core to a business and core to business's success. Data people have been looking for regulation and legislation that will drive, I hate the word value, by the way, but drive that focus in onto the topic area. Chief sustainability officers are not data people, but sustainability needs data more than anything ever. The regulation and legislation is coming at pace. And I will get back to your first question, and I do apologise because I feel like I've gone on a bit of a circular rant, but the regulation is coming. And as we were talking about earlier, by 2027, there's 44 million companies across UK and Europe that are going to be impacted by this. So what do they need to do? They don't need to cry at their desk. They don't need to panic. They first of all need to acknowledge it's coming. And the next thing is they need to bring it into their decision making. And what I mean by that is that if you have a strategy that revenue is your only part of whether you make a decision or not, that is not going to get you into a future state. Because if you don't consider revenues with your relationships, so relationships with your employees, we've got the whole climate quitting happening, and that people are now really, some companies are really struggling to get graduates into their program or to retain talent because people don't want to work for them. So you've got these relationships with suppliers. We are a global planet. We're a global organizations have become global. We now need those relationships that are outside what we potentially would have thought to be resilient, because that's what we need to become, is that as volatility increases, we've got far more resilience to build in. And if we're not innovating for the future and regeneration, where are we going? We're going into businesses are facing, lots of business models are facing hospice care for their way of working. So working with me, it's bringing that engineering mindset into how you model out a decision. Look at the cause and effects, think around. So with Concept Zero, we talk about protecting revenue, growing relationships, building resilience, and innovating for regeneration. And that is what you need to model out. And as you can see within my background, I'm also launching a new startup called Planetary Intelligence, which is about putting regenerative AI at the heart of the climate change. So it's a platform where, if you can imagine the idea that you could go and you can find the best fit solutions to where you are at as a business. If you've made a decision that you need to drive efficiency through your greenhouse gas emissions, you can go to Planetary Intelligence and go, I'm a soft fruit farmer in northern Scotland. Why that would be located? Answers on the postcode, don't know. But what the impacts that you can make are going to be very different for you, what you need to do, than if you were a soft fruit farmer in Spain, which makes a bit more sense. These two things have got a very different outlook. And so using regenerative AI, we're building a learning machine that can go, do this. This is the best advice. Learn from it. We'll teach the AI to understand rather than failures being something that sit out there and people go, oh God, embarrassed. Take a failure is that it's an education loop, and we're constantly building that education. So look at your decisions, model them with more intelligence than gut feeling or highest paid person gets the decision, but model it with sustainability in its heart, using intelligence, using data, and leveraging the skills that we've got available at our fingertips. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to take a breath.
Yeah, great. On the Scotland comment, I think they're growing frozen fruit up there, actually. Lisa, I've got one question.
How it comes on the plant, yeah.
Lisa, I've got one more question before we hit time. The crystal ball piece, where you said the 44 million companies are having to kind of do something in a few years' time. Forgive the pun, but I'm a bit green as to some of this. What is the forecast? Is it that brands have to just do a bunch of stuff and there's some regulations, or is it that in some future state there would even be auditing of these things? Like, how strong will this be when you say there's this future state? Like, what's the realities of how serious that is?
So the seriousness of businesses is that we've had, and the best way to do it is to do the comparison with finance. Businesses do financial reporting annually. At whatever state that you publish it out is obviously dependent on your status of how your business is registered, but you have to do it. You are now going to have to do your non-financial reporting. Finance reporting gets audited. Within an organisation, you will have a monthly finance meeting or quarterly updates. You will be tracking how you are performing every step of the way. This is what the new regulation, the non-financial regulation or reporting, is going to do. It's having that same rigor, and the frameworks and the guidelines and the rules, they're all consolidating incredibly quickly. Auditing firms are out there at the moment working out how they're going to do this. How are they going to deal with sometimes subjective data, which they've never had in finance before. So even the CFO is being tipped off balance of how their name is going to be on this reporting to say that this is true and accurate. This is true business change, and you are going to be looking wider. And the big thing with the non-financial climate reporting, it's coming with fines, suspected to be 5% of global turnover, so a little bit more than GDPR. It's finding its feet. So that is the 44 million companies in the UK and Europe that are going to have to achieve this reporting. So you've got your compliance bit that you're going to have to do with the reporting, but you also have to have a plan in how you're going to fix it.
Lisa, that all sounds pretty serious. And let me tell you, we're grateful to have you help us all through this. So, Lisa,
I'm happy to help.
Time, Lisa. So thank you for all your insights there. Best of luck with your business. And ladies and gents, this has been ML's Like Teen Spirit.